like North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum or Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador, to help him in Washington. He wants to shake up Washington with someone who's just like Trump when it comes to ideas and policy.
Want to go down to our senior White House and political correspondent, Ed O'Keefe, because he is down on the convention floor and with the governor of Ohio. Ed?
Nora, welcome to the floor of the convention. I am here with Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, with Bernie Moreno, who's running for the Senate as well right now. Governor, your reaction to this pick?
Well, this is a great day for Ohio. We say Ohio is the heart of it all. Now we're going to have the vice presidential nominee and then vice president of the United States. JD Vance is going to do an excellent job. He's a new generation. He's exactly what we need. He's someone whose life experiences, I think, bring a lot to this ticket. He had, if you look at his growing up in Ohio, difficult circumstances, someone who served in the military. It's a great pick.
We were talking earlier about how he came kind of out of nowhere politically in 2021. Had already been a figure based on his book, his activism, his business acumen. What was it about when he ran for Senate in 2021 that helped him win, that might help Donald Trump win this year?
Well, he had Donald Trump's endorsement. That made a huge thing. Big difference in that very, very tight race. A lot of people were running for the United States Senate. But I think that, what people have seen on the talk shows, on the floor, and just different places, he's very articulate. He is very bright. He brings us, as I said, this world experience that he has. Not a lot of long political experience, but he brings that. And I think that will have a great appeal, that world experience, a great appeal to the people of the United States.
You got any concern about the fact that he's a 39-year-old with no executive experience, somebody who hasn't served as a governor or a mayor or some other executive role?
No. I think if you go back and look at vice presidents, you'll see a lot of them are relatively young, with someone else the president, of course, who's older and has the more experience. So no, I'm not concerned about that. Look, our race in Ohio is Bernie Moreno. This is the big race for us. We're going to win the presidential race, I think, without, I wouldn't say without a lot of trouble, but we're going to win it.
In Ohio, you mean?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Ohio. We won with 8 percentage points. This is going to be a tough race. Already is. His opponent, very, very tough. But Bernie Moreno, I think when people get to know him, are going to be very happy with him, and he's going to be our next United States Senator. Did
either of you know this was coming before the former president announced it on Truth Social?
No. Nobody knew it was coming, but it's a great pick. I'll say this, President Trump has been right about a lot of things. He's right about this. This cements the Republican Party as the party of the working class. Super excited to be in Washington, D.C. to fight to grow our middle class, secure our border, and unleash American energy.
You were joking that if JD Vance wins, if you win your race, you're suddenly the senior senator.
Senior senator, not bad.
All right, don't measure the traits too quickly, but we get the idea. Bernie Moreno, Governor DeWine, thank you for taking the time. Nora, that's the initial reaction. We'll get more of it throughout the night.
Ed O'Keefe, very timely there with those officials from Ohio. Thank you very much. Want to turn now back to our panel, Caitlin Huey-Burns and Robert Costa here. And Caitlin, it is notable, however, that JD Vance has had a record of criticizing Donald Trump in the past.
That's right. He's had a lengthy record of that, but he is also considered a Trump convert. And that is something that is appreciated in Trump's inner circle. The idea that maybe he didn't see it the first time, but came around. But he's also kind of seen as someone who could kind of translate Trump very early on. Remember when he came out with Hillbilly Elegy, that was right around the time of the 2016 campaign. He was able to kind of tell the country about this base of support that Donald Trump had. And I also think it's significant. Governor DeWine mentioned that JD Vance got the endorsement from Trump. JD Vance was also one of the first senators to endorse Donald Trump all the way back in 2023. And that is also seen as something very, admired in the Trump circle. We also talk a lot about JD Vance as a member and connected to the working class. But I've also talked to those close to him who believe that he could also have an appeal to the suburbs, given, of course, his educational connections. And that's something that we saw in his Ohio race.
Robert Costa, I want to bring you back into this conversation because certainly JD Vance could help Donald Trump further connect with people in these Midwest states and certainly in Pennsylvania, right next door to Ohio. But what about that issue where JD Vance in the past has called Trump reprehensible? He called him cold heroin. He said he was a never-Trumper.
You can expect Democrats, and they've been telling me this for days, if JD Vance is the pick, he now is the pick, they're going to put those comments, audio from different podcast interviews, video from television interviews, all over television this summer and fall, to try to say that JD Vance might be an Ohio senator now who's fully behind Trump, but he raised serious doubt about Trump's character back in 2016, calling him a vile figure on the American scene. Now he's going to be his biggest booster. This also underscores Trump is going to be on foreign policy, not a traditional Republican. Vance has raised real concerns about the U.S.'s role in Ukraine and helping out that nation as it deals with Russia.
And we should note we are live here at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, and we are just moments away from when President Donald Trump becomes the official nominee of the Republican Party. This is the third time in a row that Donald Trump becomes the GOP nominee, cementing his hold on this party. And this has taken on a much different tone here because of this weekend's attempted assassination attempt on the former president. You can hear behind me, this is the roll call essentially that is underway at this hour. See the number there, 993. To officially get the nomination, he'll need 1,215 delegates. And so each state gets to stand up and pledge their delegates. It's one of the most important parts of this convention because these delegates, of course, spend a lot of time. They are party leaders and activists. And this is a special moment, a sort of a celebratory mood here. So let's go right down to the convention floor where these states are pledging their delegates. That's where Tony DeCopel is. And Tony, the news of Donald Trump's vice presidential pick, I'm sure, is rippling through the delegates.
Yeah, it sure is, Nora. We've got Ohio over to our right. They're going crazy. They're very happy, of course. Florida here is going to have the honor of being the state that puts Donald Trump officially over the line to make him the nominee for 2024. I'm here with Javante, another proud Florida man, along with myself. What does it mean to you, Javante, to have the honor of being part of the delegation that will put Donald Trump on the ticket officially here in a moment or so?
Well, with Trump's home state being the great state of Florida, Florida's clearly leading the way, and we're the state that that's leading the nation right now too. So it means the world to us that we're the ones that's going to push Trump over the edge.
Are you disappointed even a little bit? Would you acknowledge it that Marco Rubio, your state senator, is not the VP pick?
No, sir. I think we're going to get behind President Trump and what he wants. He's the leader of the party right now, and that's where we're going.
How would you describe the energy, the mood, the feeling here on the floor?
This is electric. One of them dead cars that Biden's got from the electronic battery bull crap. You could charge one of them cars with electricity in this place.
Nora, I'm here to show you that in Florida, they wear cowboy hats as well. I'll send it back to you.
Tony DeCopel from the floor there was certainly the mood there. Let's listen to Elise Stefanik.
State. It is my honor as representative for New York's 21st Congressional District, House Republican Conference Chair, on behalf of the 91 New York delegates to the Republican National Convention, we proudly cast all 91 votes for President Donald J. Trump.
Pursuant to the announcement of the delegation and the rules and procedures of this convention, New York, 91 votes, President Trump. Florida. Florida, 125 delegates.
Madam Secretary, and everybody in this great city. On behalf of our entire family, and on behalf of the 125 delegates in the unbelievable state of Florida, we hereby nominate every single one of them for the greatest president that's ever lived, and that's Donald J. Trump. Hereby declaring him the Republican nominee for President of the United States of America.
Pursuant to the announcement of the delegation and the rules and procedures of this convention, Florida, 125 votes, President Trump.
And you can hear it now, the applause and celebration here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. $1,259 delegates. We're inside, many people dancing to this song, celebrating their nominee for President, Donald Trump. We witnessed just a short time ago some of his children officially nominating him for President of the United States. Robert Costa is with me.
It was the influence of this family. Tiffany Trump, one of the daughters there. You see her in the white. Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump. They have been through a lot. I saw Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. just recently at their father's criminal trial in New York, but now a moment of celebration just days after an assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. And the family, I'm told by sources close to Trump, really have grown to like JD Vance. They see him as someone who's of their generation, in his late 30s, many of the children in their 30s and 40s.
Now continue with the roll call of the states. Puerto Rico.
And now the roll call will continue here, but there's much news because certainly so much has changed here following what happened on Saturday night in Butler, Pennsylvania. Already we are hearing from the former president himself. He is changing things. He says that he has thrown out his original speech, that he wants to do something different. The tone of this, he's asking and calling for unity. We'll see whether some of the speeches reflect that.
But this is such a revealing pick, Nora, for vice president. In a generational sense, it will be compared to Dan Quayle in 1988 for George H.W. Bush, or Paul Ryan for Mitt Romney in 2012, a younger presence on the ticket. But Trump is not reaching out to a new coalition inside the Republican Party. This is someone who's entrenched in Trumpism, believes in it, advocates for it. And so you really see him trying to pass the torch eventually to someone who will carry on his version of Republican politics.
But he wasn't always a Trumper.
And he's close to people in Silicon Valley, like Peter Thiel. He's close to people in the business community and the Trump community. The Trump campaign is hoping he's going to essentially run for governor in states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, try to win over the Midwest, but also raise a lot of money.
Mitch McConnell.
Some boos there for the Senate Republican leader.
You can hear a number of boos here. That is the Republican leader in the Senate from Kentucky, who has been a steadfast supporter of Donald Trump. He has criticized him specifically after January 6th.
Senator McConnell has clashed with Senator Vance repeatedly over foreign policy in the Senate.
And there we have it. Let's go right back down to the floor and Tony DeCopel, who is there. Tony?
Hey, Nora. Well, you know, we saw the dancing when Donald Trump was pushed over the top in terms of the number of delegates. I'm here with two of the biggest dancers of all here from the great state of Florida. What's going through your mind now? What does this moment mean?
Well, I'm an American by choice. I've lived in this country for 46 years, and I live the American dream, and I'm a legal American citizen. And Donald Trump is going to save America, and I love him.
Is that how you feel as well?
I'm a proud Jewish American, first-generation Republican voter, and Donald Trump represents to me the restoration and preservation of our Judeo-Christian principles this country was founded upon that are threatened right now.
Thank you both very much. Congratulations. Nora, as I toss back to you, the Trump children are just behind me. I'm going to go try to find them. If I get them on camera, we'll come back to you.
Tony DeCopel, thank you so much. I want to talk more about, because not only the news today about the former president being here in Milwaukee, changing his tone, how this campaign will change, and what JD Vance does. How do you think he affects the electoral chances at all of Donald Trump with this ticket?
I covered Senator Vance's 2022 campaign extensively for CBS News. I went to the debates. I went to Ohio. You're going to see him talk about his biography, Working Voters. He's going to go to places like Western Pennsylvania, where there was this assassination attempt against former President Trump, and urge them to come around, to not go to the Biden campaign. President Biden has also been reaching out to labor, been reaching out to working voters in places like Michigan and Pennsylvania, and also places like the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. And so you have Vance there trying to counter the Democrats' overtures to working voters, because that is what the Biden campaign has been intently focused on over the past year.
And remember, when we saw the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, JD Vance was at the forefront of that. And that, you know, when Donald Trump visited, that was a real moment for him and his campaign. And he's also able to also draw a line to suburban voters.
I want to go now to Scott McFarland, because there are some updates in the investigation into that shooting and attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Scott?
Yeah, Nora, that rally stage is behind me here in Butler, Pennsylvania. It's been untouched since Saturday. It's a crime scene. The FBI is leading the investigation along with local police. But really, there is a focus on trying to figure out the motive of the shooter, 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, in Crooks neighborhood near Pittsburgh. They were going door to door trying to ask neighbors what they knew of this man. And our latest reporting, Nora, is that the feds have gotten little information useful from the phone that they've recovered from Thomas Crooks to try to figure out the motive. In the meantime here, they're also trying to figure out what caused this historic, remarkable breakdown in security, that somebody could get access to a roof so close to this rally stage as a former president was speaking. Some huge unanswered questions here, a few hundred miles away from the convention.
It's an excellent point, Scott. And in fact, we've got new video that is just coming out that shows a number of those rally goers just minutes before that gunman was able to fire off those shots, warning police that there was someone to look out for. So we're going to have a full update on the investigation and all this new information. Let's go now back to Ed O'Keefe. He is on the convention floor with the
really
Trump
critical.
family.
He's going to be a person that also really helps us sort of on the electoral college map, just with his background and with that story. And so I couldn't be happier.
You're now live on CBS. Explain to those watching why you think JD Vance is the best man to run with your father.
Listen, I think he's lived the epitome of the American dream story. I think he's the guy that's capable of bringing that same success that he was able to have, coming from nothing, coming from Appalachia, and succeeding at a level that no one could possibly fathom. If you've read Hillbilly Elegy, I think it's one of the great books. I read it like when it first came out, before he was even sort of on board with Trump or believed that Trump could be the guy that can do that. He's just been an incredible fighter ever since he saw that it was real. And that kind of energy for the movement, for the country, for jobs, for world peace, I couldn't be happier.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. It's been a heck of a 48 hours for your family.
It has.
How is your father? How are your siblings? How are you processing this?
It was interesting. It was the first couple hours after I heard about it. It took me about 90 minutes before I could even get a hold of him, get any real news, what was actually happening. So that was sort of crazy, and managed to get my kids together. It was Saturday evening. I was with my children, and that was sort of odd. But it was actually far more somber after a couple hours. Even once I spoke to him, and he was okay, and we were almost even joking about it. I just said, "Hey, man, when he got up, defiant, to keep going and fighting." I told him, I said, "You are the biggest badass I've ever seen," and that's the highest compliment I can afford anyone. Perhaps a little bit crude, but it's the reality. And I think it's that kind of leadership, that kind of strength, that kind of resolve. That's what we need to make our country successful on a world stage. That's why we didn't get into wars when Trump was president. Putin didn't invade his neighbors. That kind of resolve is so important. That's gone. That's missing from America right now, and we can bring it back.
It was a stunning thing to happen. Has he had enough time to really process what happened? Is this the right place for him to be this week?
I think it's the right place. I mean, he sees the magnitude of the decisions that it takes to be the president of the United States. He understands people's, their families, their livelihoods just dependent on that man's success. The guy that you want seconds after being able to be shot to get up and want to keep fighting and engage. That's exactly what we need. So he gets it. He understands the moment. He's never going to stop and he's never going to back down. That's not his style.
I was struck by your sister and your brother, and I think yourself, saying that, it was the anniversary of your mother's death, and there's belief that you guys think she had some sense of protection over him.
There's almost nothing other than some sort of divine intervention. When you see that, when you watch it play out, I mean, I was a nationally ranked competitive shooter. I understand there's a lot that had to happen to make that not much worse of a conversation. So
are you worried at all about Secret Service protection? Have you guys had a conversation with them about the next few months?
It's not the time to be the conspiratorial guy, right? There's definitely questions that need to be answered. I think, we'll let other people do all of that. I fear for him anyway, because of, these attacks have been going on for quite some time. And that's not just the physical attacks, but it's the verbiage that's been going on about him. And we were traitors and criminals and this, and he's the greatest threat to democracy ever, but I don't know. Seemed like we were doing pretty well under Trump.
How's the rest of this week going to go?
I think it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. Just excited to be there. I mean, the people here, so many of them are just volunteers. They do this for love of country, and I'm just really happy to be a small part of it.
The idea that he's a 39-year-old, Senator Vance, how important to you is it that he is someone that young?
I love that JD is young. My father built Trump Tower at 37. You can be young and accomplished. I love that he's young because I see him as someone who can actually carry sort of that America First movement forward, not going back to the neocon warmongering Republican Party of the past. It's about a new generation of Republican Party, and I think he's a young guy that can carry that. He can bring that message.
He's the heir to the movement?
Well, he's certainly one of them. I wish we had a bench of hundreds, but we don't. Maybe that'll expand. Maybe it'll continue to grow over the next 4 years. But I like so much about what he's able to do and the way he's going to be able to prosecute that case. I think it couldn't be more critical.
Don Jr., thank you for taking the time.
Appreciate it.
Good to hear what you thought. Nora, it just happens to be where you are. He's walking by, and there you go. His reaction to the pick. He had a big influence over the decision, he says.
No doubt. Ed O'Keefe with that great interview with DJT Jr., as he is known. The former president's son. Just want to update everyone. JD Vance, the senator from Ohio, has been chosen as Donald Trump's vice presidential candidate. JD Vance, 39 years old, turns 40 in August, considered a young pick. The author of Hillbilly Elegy, was an enlisted Marine, served in Iraq, then went to Ohio State and then Yale Law School, and has talked a lot about his mama, who helped raise him and was a huge influence in his life. He's talked about poverty, drug abuse, connecting with the white working class. He's married to a very accomplished attorney in her own right. We've also heard from President Biden in just the last couple of moments reacting to JD Vance. President Biden tweeting, here's the deal about JD Vance. He talks a big game about working people, but now he and Trump want to raise taxes on middle-class families while pushing more tax cuts for the rich. Well, I don't intend to let them. And then he has a fundraising pitch along with that. So expect that debate to be joined. This about the working class, who will benefit them the most with their policies. It's more for us to discuss here, as we are just 113 days away from Election Day. Our coverage is going to continue on CBS News 24/7, certainly on your local news. And we're going to have a full wrap up tonight on the CBS Evening News. And join us tonight for CBS News coverage of the Republican National Convention, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS News 24/7, and then continuing at 10 Eastern on CBS News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Nora O'Donnell.
Super Spark Brush for a fully flared look. New Firework Mascara, Maybelline, New York.
Introducing Cardio Mobile. With Cardio Mobile, the FDA-cleared smart device, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere.
Every morning I check